Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. So glad you're here today because we are diving straight into something I absolutely love. We are going on a fascinating journey to decode the architectural blueprints that drive literally all great storytelling. I mean, whether you're rereading a classic novel or just totally glued to the latest binge-worthy series, there is a hidden framework holding the whole shebang together. Our goal today? To uncover those structures and translate those abstract, floating narrative flows into crystal clear visual timelines. We've got a pretty packed agenda to get through. We're going to start with the blueprint of a story, then move on to following the straight line and the journey back home. After that, we'll check out connecting the episodes, starting in the middle, and wrap it all up with mapping your own story. But before we get into the nuts and bolts, I want to throw a question your way. Can a story even exist without a plot? Why or why not? Lean in for a second and really think about it. What actually keeps you turning the page or staring at a screen way past your bedtime? Is it just a bunch of random stuff happening? Or is there a hidden engine doing the heavy lifting? Well, that hidden engine, that's your plot. It's so much more than just what happens in a story. It's the carefully organized sequence of events, perfectly arranged to showcase cause and effect. It's basically the vital, beating heart of the narrative. Every single action triggers a consequence, creating this massive chain reaction that absolutely forces us to ask that magic question, what happens next? Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, the blueprint of a story. Notice this intricate web of connections. A narrative is rarely just a straightforward path. It's a highly organized system. Plot is all about how story events are actively organized and presented to you. One node connects to the next, which branches out to another. It's a perfect visual representation that storytelling is this massive network of cause and effect. Honestly, it's like a giant puzzle. If you change just one piece, you change the entire system. Moving right along to Section 2, following the straight line. Now, this is the classic 5-part linear structure. It's the most primitive common blueprint out there. You start with the exposition, just setting the stage, and then move right into the rising action, where the obstacles start stacking up. That tension builds and builds chronologically until, bam, it snaps at the climax, the ultimate turning point. Then we get to breathe again, releasing that tension with the falling action, and finally tying up all those loose ends in the resolution. A linear plot is great because it gives us this clear, very predictable progression. Think of classic fairy tales, right? Cinderella or Little Red Riding Hood. You know exactly how time is passing. It's a straight, chronological line from once upon a time all the way to happily ever after. The absolute strength of this structure is its clarity. But what happens when an author totally ditches the straight line? That brings us to Section 3, the journey back home. In a circular plot, all those winding paths eventually curve right back toward the central starting point. The physical journey itself is cyclical. The protagonist sets out on a grand adventure, faces unimaginable trials, but the narrative map physically draws them right back to the exact location where they started the whole thing. So you might be wondering, if they end up right back where they started, what was even the point? Well, the real magic here happens internally. Think about The Wizard of Oz. The external circumstances look exactly identical at the end. Dorothy is right back in her bed in Kansas, but she has undergone a massive internal transformation. The themes here are all about growth, self-discovery, and the whole cyclical nature of life. All right, Section 4, connecting the episodes. Instead of one massive mountain to climb, an episodic plot works more like a series of connected mini-adventures. Each little segment you see here represents an episode with its very own distinct conflict and resolution. But collectively, they string together to enrich the larger thematic narrative. This is exactly what you see in epic travel narratives, quest stories, or, your favorite serialized TV shows. And right next door to episodic plots, we have the spiral structure. Okay, pop quiz time, based on our source material. If the character learns the exact same lesson repeatedly without changing at all, is that a circle or a spiral? It's a circle. A spiral structure is a totally different beast. It involves revisiting similar situations, sure, but each time the character comes back, they have a brand new perspective or a much higher level of understanding. Now we're getting to the really fun stuff. Section 5, starting in the middle. To truly get this, we have to contrast two completely different concepts. On one side, we have chronological order, which is the actual sequence of how events happen in real time. On the other side, presentation order, how the author strategically chooses to reveal those events to you. Seriously, separating when it happened from when you learn about it is essentially the ultimate psychological manipulation tool for any author. Which brings us to an absolutely fantastic Latin term, in medias res. It literally translates to in the middle of things. And let me tell you, its dramatic power is just unmatched. In medias res intentionally creates a chaotic, super dynamic narrative space. The author basically just drops you right into the middle of a high-action conflict out of nowhere. You have no idea how the characters got there. Then, the author strategically uses flashbacks or dialogue to pull you backward, slowly piecing together the narrative and filling in those essential gaps. And hey, this isn't some brand new trick. Homer's ancient masterpiece, The Odyssey, famously uses in medias res. Homer intentionally delays the beginning of the actual chronological story just to instantly grip his audience with ridiculously high stakes right out of the gate. By withholding that information, the author totally commands your attention. Let's make this practical in Section 6, Mapping Your Own Story. Let's play detective for a second and look for the structural clues in these summaries together. In Summary A, a man relives the exact same day repeatedly. That's your classic circular or repetitive structure. In Summary B, a boy goes to war and returns to his farm wiser. He's back where he started physically, but internally, totally changed. So that is a circular journey home. And Summary C, a detective finds clues, catches a killer, and closes the case. Straightforward A to B, chronological, that's a classic linear engine at work. You can actually map out narrative flows at home just like a wall of sticky notes. Take your favorite book or movie and physically map out its flow. Draw a timeline, stick some keywords on there, figure out exactly where the exposition ends, where the climax hits, or note exactly when a flashback occurs. Translating a story onto a physical timeline like this will completely transform how you understand the architecture of writing. I want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought to chew on. Would the Odyssey be anywhere near as interesting if it started from the very beginning, instead of dropping us right into the middle of the action? Structural choices, like withholding the beginning to use in medias res, fundamentally shape the suspense, the clarity, and the ultimate emotional impact a story has on us. So the next time you open a book or start a new show, don't just watch what happens. Watch how the author is building the road right beneath your feet. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.